Welcome, my friends, and here we are on another beautiful, the most beautiful day of 2014.
It is.
This year, right?
Yeah.
We agree
Absolutely,
on that. So the only
absolutely.
thing we'll agree on, probably.
And,
But it's a beautiful day, and we're very happy to be here. We have a guest this afternoon.
Belated happy
Mother's Day. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
A lot of us don't have our mothers with us, but they are with us.
They are with us.
They are with us.
And
but
my
happy-
wife had a wonderful day. Her children were
Yeah.
very good to her.
Yeah,
And that's hard to do, I'll tell you that. Keep her happy, boy. You can't cook for her. She wants to put her finger right in the thing. What are you doing? I want to see, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so happy belated Mother's Day
But
to
anyway,
all mothers.
yeah, happy Mother's Day. If you didn't say it yesterday, forget about it. All right, Vincent Grillo, sitting right here. She's got a picture of Mr. Grillo so his wife can make sure he's here. She'll say, that's a make-believe puppet or something. Vincent Grillo is from the Wyman Street Neighborhood Group.
The Wyman Neighborhood Group.
That's it, okay. Wyman Neighborhood. Now, he was here in the past, and he explained to the residents of the city of Woburn some of the concerns of the Wyman Neighborhood Group. And at that time, we offered him an opportunity to come back anytime he wants, and that is still open. That invitation is still open. So, Vincent, if you want to fill in your neighbors and some of the residents of the city of Woburn, what's going on? I think you got two subjects you want to talk about, right?
Two subjects. I mean, maybe a quick review of who we are, and we're just a group of neighbors that we have this common problem all along Wyman Street, from Main all the way down to Wynn, all the little side streets off there. We all get flooding in our, well, most of us get flooding in our backyards and in our basements. And the more construction that goes on, the more frequent and more severe the flooding seems to become. We were just talking about the cinema, when they paved the cinema parking lot, all that water came over into our neighborhood. People who never had water before got water. When they did the Murray Road extension, same thing. When they built Rose Farm, same thing. So when the Spence Farm properties, the 3 fields along Wyman Street, came up for sale about 4 years ago, we were pretty concerned that we were going to get flooded out again. So a group of neighbors just got together, went to a lot of city council meetings, had our own weekly meetings, had petitions, went door to door to convince the city to buy that land. And we feel that we were very instrumental in getting the funding for that, which was the meals tax. Now, I recall you were at that meeting, and our group was advocating for that, and we feel we were pretty instrumental in that the year before, the meals tax got pretty soundly defeated, if I recall. And at that meeting, you kind of chastised the council for going back on the year's vote before.
I did.
You did, and rightly so, but we had packed that council meeting, not just that time, but previous times, and we had an ongoing campaign. In any event, we believe that it was greatly due to our influence that tax got passed that enabled the city to buy Spence Farm and Whispering Hill. So one of the things, and that was to prevent flooding. As I said, every time something new got constructed, we felt we had obvious evidence that more and more of our cellars and basements became flooding. So now there were 2 other developments along Wyman Street, and we've been meeting with the various city agencies and departments and hoping that the drainage plans are sufficient to avoid more flooding. So the 2 things that we now have prominently that our group is concerned about is the Hart Street drainage project. If you know anything about the area, and you said that you do,
I do.
That those people on Hart Street get flooded, and not just a little water in their basement, their houses become surrounded by water. And there was I don't know if it was a commitment, but a kind of a commitment to redo the drainage along the Middlesex Canal that used to run under Kilby Street.
Correct.
And down, I'm told, and I'm not an engineer and I'm not a lifelong Woburnite, that used to go under Kilby Street and then eventually across Wynn and down out towards Library Park.
Correct.
And when they made Library Park what it is today, they diverted that to get the water out of that area. And what they did is they stopped it before it got to Kilby Street. And they turned it, if you're walking from Lowell Street towards the center, going north to south, they stopped it and turned it right. And now it flows right behind the 2 Spence Farm fields and all the way down to Wynn Street.
Correct.
And then that flow from Main Street to Wynn Street, I'm told, drops only 3 inches.
If that.
If that.
If that, yeah.
So the consequence of that, we feel, is that instead of the water flowing its natural way down under Kilby and out to Library Park and into Horn Pond, it was diverted to a place that won't drain. And that's why those people flood. And that's why flooding occurs in all our neighborhoods on that side of the street. Not the only reason, but one of the main reasons. So we were concerned about having that Hart Street drainage project, get the drainage back to where it was, or do something to remediate what was taken away. And I don't know when that was done, 50s, 60s, whenever. So that's one of the projects that we're concerned about. And the other project is the new school, the Wyman Neighborhood School. We know they need a new school in both places, and there's a study being done. And one of the sites selected is the Spence Farm parcel that we, as I said, felt we had a great deal to do with encouraging the city to buy it. We feel that the city, with that vote, made a promise to buy that land with the funding that we enabled them to vote for, to buy that land, to keep it open, to prevent flooding, and for outdoor community activities. Now, it's become a very, very popular place. There's a walking and jogging path around it. We do the farmers market. The scouts meet there. There's a Zumba class going on there today. We have recycling drives. We have shredding events. We have the Oktoberfest. We have a Kids Fall Festival. We have a petting zoo, a corral there during the summertime. We have numerous events. The Woburn Guild of Artists met there one time. We had some dance classes there. We've given, if you go to the website, if you Google sites, Google Spence Farm, you'll find the website that lists all the activity that have been going on there. So we're
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 minute
Sure.
before so I'm not confused.
yeah.
The Wyman Neighborhood Group, is that what's Paul Medeiros' group?
Paul Medeiros is, our group is a strictly citizen, volunteer, non-affiliated group of neighbors who just get together.
Okay.
Paul Medeiros is the chairman of the Woburn Agricultural Commission, which is a formal commission appointed by the mayor, approved by the city council, to oversee Spence Farm and I believe Whispering Hill as well.
So you just have this, your group of neighbors just
Yeah.
has this informal relationship
With them,
the ag.
you know,
Okay.
when Paul has
Because I thought when you were listing all those things off, I said, you sound like him.
Yeah.
You're a good advertisement for
well, you know, as a neighbor,
Yeah.
because we felt that we convinced or encouraged the city to buy that, and as a neighbor, we feel a very strong obligation to maintain it in as good a condition as we can. So if Paul has, or in the Agricultural Commission has a shredding event, we want to go and help. If they have recycling, we want to go and help. We go to the farmers market, we help set up the tents, we help set up the tables, we clean up afterwards, we man the posts at some of the events. So the neighbors, you know, get together and they help because it's in our neighborhood, and,
Yep.
and we felt we have a responsibility and an obligation to do it. We have nothing to do with the formal running
of the,
other than, you know,
Yeah,
well, we
right.
know Paul, he knows us, and,
Yeah,
you know, he
right.
may ask us our opinion. So
Any members of your group on that commission?
our group is very informal, but we
Probably
have
should.
people who come to our meetings who are on that commission, yes. Yes.
yeah, that's good. I
mean,
mean,
we
have
have-
it both ways.
We have our Facebook page, believe it or not, little local Facebook page. When I was here, it was 825 people.
Yeah.
It's now 878 people. Can you imagine that? A small, some companies don't have 800 fans on their Facebook page. So we have 878 people as of this morning who chose to give us to join our group through the Facebook page. We have an active email distribution list of about 125 people who are interested enough in our organization, our little group, to give us their emails and ask us to update them on things that happen.
Now, I asked you this before. Are you president of this group?
No, we don't have a president. We have no formal structure. You know, when someone feels like something needs to be discussed, you know, we send out an email, a group email, and say, can we get together next week? We get together. We talk about whoever, you know, asked to get together, what's on their mind. And we, in the past, have written up a mission statement, and that's on our Facebook page. I mean, on our website, which is different than our website is different than the Spence Farm website with the Wyman Neighborhood Group.
But if you were going to prioritize either one of those issues, now, of course, the flooding is worse than the school.
The flooding is the issue.
That's
the flooding is exacerbated by both of those things. The flooding is exacerbated by the drainage issue along Hart Street, and we believe any construction in that area exacerbates flooding. But now, in addition to the flooding, we have an active, vibrant, ongoing community center there that people from all over the city come and enjoy. And so we don't want the school to be built there, and we would like the drainage problem on Hart Street to be solved. Those are our two bigger things that we're following now. So last time we were here, I told you that the mayor was gracious enough to get the DPW, the city engineer, Conservation Commission, his foreman of the highway department, a group of us, and say that they were going to start a project there, and they would keep us updated. Since then, we haven't heard much. I heard, well, you know, they're building that new development there, and they're putting these big swales in, and that may negate the necessity of having this project. We don't believe that's true. Then we hear, well, the soil's contaminated, and so we might not be able to do it. Well, let's face it, the soil anywhere, you know, inside the 128 ring is probably contaminated, and you take it up, you send it out where it's supposed to be, and it's not the death knell of a project. Just one other thing. Last week, Mr. Concanon, the new alderman at large, put forward a resolve to do a study on the entire drainage situation there.
Yeah, there wasn't much money in it, though.
No, well, just to,
25,
you know,
I think, wasn't it?
and, you know, that's kind of a good and a bad thing. We're happy that someone's paying attention, but it's just another study, and we know others have been done.
Yeah, right.
And we think it will delay any ultimate solution that's there. So I'm sorry.
Let me give you some things that you can take back with you. I'd be very happy to meet with your group and give them my knowledge that I have. And I'm going to go back like 60 years maybe. And I'll give you some names that were involved over the years that I can remember. Tom Shaughnessy was an alderman. Jimmy Doherty lived on Hamilton Road, right next door. He was an alderman. I was an alderman. Catherine Shaughnessy was an alderman. My son Robert Meany was an alderman. Scott Galvin was an alderman. And now you got Mark Gaffney. All of us have dealt with that problem of Hart Street. Behind the Boys and Girls Club, there's springs there. That another study to me, I'm not saying it's not going to produce more than what we've produced before. We had the Corps of Engineers, and there's a long list of items and what they found. One is springs, and there's three, if I can recall, 3 springs behind the Boys and Girls Club. That is the old Middlesex Canal. When that was turned right, which is in the 60s, it was turned right for 2 reasons. We put in what we call the Sylvania sewer line that comes down from where the courthouse is now. Behind that was Sylvania Electronics, which the building is still there.
The building's still there.
We brought the sewer line down along the canal and brought it down to Wynn Street. When we did that, we had an old wooden bridge on Kilby Street. To run the sewer line and the canal side by side, somebody came up with, we'll probably mention George Olson was the city engineer, They blame him for everything.
Yeah,
And
he
Alley
did.
Wall's gone now, so we'll blame him too. Somebody made a right-hand turn because Hart Street was not fully developed then. And the fellow
Denny
named...
Ma was there, right?
Yeah, Denny Ma and Mocha Cohen ended up building these capes, unfinished capes around the city. They swung that underneath Hart Street. Now there's a culvert underneath Hart Street. And that sewer line cuts across right behind the last house. If you dig down, you will hit that sewer line. So that's why that we have a retention behind the Boys and Girls Club. If you dropped a leaf from John, I didn't mention John Cowan, he was an alderman at large. He was a mayor. He lives right there.
Right, he lives on the corner,
So,
right?
I mean, what I'm trying to say to you, there are many people that have vision of what this is. When that swung around and brought it over behind Spence Farm, Spence Farm created a water hole. Now that water hole was created by them. If you walk out back, and I have in the past, you will see that that's a man-made retention pond. And why did they do that? Because they pumped water out of there. Irrigation for their corn and all the other vegetables. When you leave that area, you go by Mike Seminator's, which is now a kid named Kylie, I believe.
Bob Carley.
All right, that was a dog kennel.
Senator kept dogs.
That was another holding area.
Yep.
And then now we get out to Wynn Street. We lowered the culvert on Wynn Street. When I said we, Public Works, and I was the alderman, we cleaned. If you said to me, what do I think should be done? We should go over to the Joyce Junior High School, start there and come all the way back to you. And the reason for that is, if you stopped right now between Burlington Street and Willow Street and look behind Kevin Feeney's old homestead, you will see trees as large as all of us here laying across the water. I mean, the water's going underneath them, around them. These brooks have been neglected. And if you start at the lower end and start coming back to get a better flow out of there, all the culverts need to be cleaned. Now, we had a machine that used to clean the culverts, and I think you remember it.
Yeah.
Two big tripods with a cable, and we would push that thing back and forth,
yeah.
back and forth, and we would clean that culvert. Now, some of the houses on Hart Street should not have been built there. That you probably couldn't build them today. I had houses on that street, on the westerly side of Hart Street, that they had to build a new foundation and move the house off the old one to a new one. And that was the McDonough people that owned the STEM shop. Remember the STEM shop?
Yep.
Right next to Jake Dever,
Yep.
police officer. Those people, and including you, that get water that's created by an adverse condition, you should be entitled to an abatement. Now, I'm telling you so. I say this publicly, and I'm not afraid to say it. If you get water that's created by the city of Woburn's adverse condition, then you are entitled to an abatement on your property. And I believe that everybody on Hart Street should get an abatement, and anybody else that gets water. And I'm going to say this publicly. I don't think you've seen nothing yet. I don't think you've seen nothing yet.
About, you mean to the extent of the flooding?
Yes.
You think there'll be more? Well, so do we. That's why that's why we got together. We're like, we're going to swim out of this place.
I'm not born yesterday.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. When you start pushing some of that, it's got to go someplace. And if they don't get a handle on these two developments, the one furthest away from you, it may not be as much as the one that's going to be constructed next up a little further.
Yeah.
I just have,
Well,
I have bad vibes about it. So.
Our group have been following those two developments very closely. We go to most of the meetings. We've submitted information to the state DEP, especially for the one closer to Wynn Street, the one Mr. Melanson is building.
Yeah.
We actually filed an appeal with the state DEP. The state DEP filed their own appeal after we went in and talked, and they did some looking. We, you know, we, 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 we to revise their drainage plans. So they have totally revised their drainage plan for that development from what the original was. It took them almost 2 years with peer reviewers, the DEP, and our own Conservation Commission, and us looking over their shoulders. How much influence we had, I don't know, but I'm sure we had some. And at this point, we have sort of, there's nothing more that we as a neighborhood group can do. They've gone over and over the plans, and both the DEP and the Woburn Conservation Commission and the Planning Board believe that the engineering plan for that development is sufficient to handle the runoff. Now, they said the same thing about Rose Farm. Here's our engineering plan, and in the first rainstorm, major rainstorm, I'm told that several of the houses in Rose Farm flooded. So if you ask our group about the value of an engineering plan, you may get some skepticism.
Well, you'll get it from right here, from Eddie and I, and I'm gonna say, I mean, if you played some of our tapes, you would see this, that,
I watch you guys all the time. I go back and look at everything.
The planning board is only involved in that development.
One thing. Yep.
That one thing. In other words, I won't say that you don't count, but I guess I gotta say it, you don't count.
Yeah.
They're only interested in right there. If they have all of the technology, all of the facts, all of the calculations that says that driveway is gonna run off, and that's gonna run off, and that catch basin's gonna go over there. They have not considered Wynn Street, Bedford Road, down. It doesn't come into there.
We agree, and we control that right. Legally, we're only, I wouldn't even say obligated, they're only restricted, legally restricted to only looking at that parcel. And so nobody is looking at the entire, the entire neighborhood from Maine to Wynn, which is why we call ourselves the Wyman Neighborhood Group. It's the entire area.
In all the years that this has been going on, did anybody ever put a price tag on going in there and just doing the whole job all the way over to the joist?
Well, see, there's several things that passed. In the 70s, Eddie, Allie Wall rented a little backhoe, and we had it on a skid, And we went right in on Hart Street, and we went all the way to Wynn Street. And we were digging out. Now, you might say, well, how did he move it? You'd turn the shovel like this and you'd pull on the bank, get you down a little more, and then we would start digging. And we dug out a lot of muck and other things. I remember a refrigerator. Joe Lally was a cop in Woburn, and he says, I don't know how that refrigerator got in there. I said, well, I didn't put it in there. But we found the refrigerator floating in there. But it's a lack of attention, and we just are putting more buildings in an area that has got a history of flooding. And if you and I were standing at Wyman Street and we dropped a leaf where we had water, you'd see it go south that way. And if we go up to the cinemas and we'll drop a leaf, it's going to go north.
Yep.
Wyman Street in Lowell, where she comes out like this, is really a breaking point for the Middlesex Canal. It goes north there, and it usually never floods underneath Wyman Street. Usually.
Yeah.
And it always floods from Hart Street down and behind those homes. But a lot of people say, well, it's the runoff. Well, it is the runoff, but it also is springs in there.
Yeah. Well, we're well aware of that. We're aware that that's lowland. We understand it, and we can't do anything. We can't stop the construction. If you look at our website, what we say is we want flood-conscious development, open space if possible. But if you have to develop, do it with an eye towards flooding consciousness, and get the engineering plans the best that they can be. Can you bet on an engineering plan being sufficient to handle the problem? That we'll find out. half.
All right, Vincent, now we've been here for 25 minutes, so let's go on. What's the neighborhood group's position relative to the school update right now?
Well, the school, there's a survey being done, a study being done. They hired a consulting group, and they're looking at, I think, 3 or 4 sites to combine the Wyman and Hurl School. And we feel that all along we felt that the city-owned Spence Farm parcel should never have been included on that study, because as we started off with, the city council only has voted for that tax. The only reason that there aren't 17 houses on that parcel today, we believe, is because of the Wyman Neighborhood Group and those meetings, the one that you went to, the one that I went to. We believe we gave them the encouragement and the ability to vote yes on that tax where they had voted no the year before. So we believe the city made a promise to our neighborhood to keep that open space as a community center and as a protection against flooding. So we feel that we should never have been on that study. Well, we're on the study now. We've talked to, we had a little neighborhood meeting. Mr. Concanon, Mr. Gaffney, Mr. Hagerty, and Mr. Anderson, the 4 aldermen came down and talked to us. None of those people are on this committee that is supposed to pick the site along with the other things that go into building a new school. But they came down and listened to us and are going to keep us informed. We had a couple of meetings, and we wanted to decide how active we should be. We had petition drives before we went house to house to buy the land. Should we do petition drives? Should we get signatures? Should we make phone calls? What should we do? And the mayor and the aldermen who were involved say, well, it's a little early in the process. Let the public formal process take its place. We'll have neighborhood meetings, and you can give us your input then. Well, we did. So some of us wanted to be more proactive and go at it hard and get some petitions and make a little bit of civic noise. Others said, let's wait. They said, wait and see. So let's send them an email and some information and ask them for updates. Well, we sent 2 emails. We've asked for updates. We've asked for the name and address of the study person that we could send our information to, because we saw some people doing a survey around that little pond that's on the city-owned land. And one of the neighbors went out there and said, what are you doing? They said, well, we're doing the survey for the school, and we're looking for wildlife, and they're in the pond, and there's none here. Well, that was the day after the last snow and ice storm. It was below freezing, and we have people surveying the pond looking for frogs when there's ice on the floor, on the ground. Well, we think we would like to send some information to the group that's doing the study. So we asked for the name and the address, and we haven't gotten that. We've asked twice.
Have you invited any school committee members?
We invited some of the people who are on the school building committee, and they were busy, or they couldn't come. And we've since been told that the public, the way they're going to address the public is through their formal meetings, and they're going to have public meetings around the city, and we can come to those, but they probably won't come to any that we would call.
Yeah. Well, then my advice would be the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I'll tell you that right now, because I'd be yelling up and down saying, "Give me something. Tell me something."
Let me tell you a couple of things. First of all, I don't like to lose. And so I'm meeting a guy that beat me, and I don't like it. But I will shake your hand, because I want to tell you something. I'm not a tax guy. Do you understand? The older you get, now you probably a little younger than me, but you see this when it gets you, and you got it. He's got it. The older you get, the more conservative you get.
Listen, I'm not a tax guy either.
Okay.
I'm a registered Republican.
We won't hold that against you.
Yeah. Been one my entire life for conservative fiscal reasons.
All right.
But this tax was so small, and to be shouldered by, in large part, people who come from out of the city into our city.
Now, see, as a business, so you see this, Matico?
Yeah.
See this on, in case business people watch me, You want to send me a shirt, I'll put it on, I'll give you a nice free advertisement. Matico's a great company in Woburn.
It was, yeah.
Been here for 50 years.
Yeah.
They make the screen, the filament that goes on windows.
Yep.
Where you keep the sun out. So if you like to get it on your house, your building, call Matico and tell them I recommend them. But they're good. They're a good company. Here's what I want to say to you. I never thought that tax would raise this type of money. How's that?
$1 million.
I can't. I have a hard time believing it, but I'm a believer. Again, I never thought it was going to raise that type of money.
And Burlington gets more.
Yeah, Burlington beat us more, and they just got 5 more or 6 more restaurants. So they're gonna, Burlington, as we speak right now, you and I sitting in this chair, they have $1 billion in new construction on the table as we sit here.
Wow. Well, I can see all the restaurants, the building there and everything.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
They're just banging off the wall. It was that commissary or the market there.
Wegmans. Yeah.
Wegmans.
Yeah.
That when that's been around, well, been coming for over 5 years. When that popped, everybody wants to get there.
Yep.
So,
Well, you know, we're obviously opposed to building a school there. We think it should never been included on the study. We were told it was not going to be on the study, but somehow it got on the study, and so it's there now. We just feel that, you know, we're beginning to feel that if we wait until the formal public process rolls out, the decision will have already been made without our input. And so, you know, as I said.
What would be would you give me if you had your group together, say, you get 800 members on the Facebook page, so if you had 75 or 80 members come to a meeting and you talked about the school and other locations, and you said, well, we don't want it here, where would they like to put it? Or what would they like to do?
You know, I can't speak for everyone. I
Right.
mean, you know, we talk and we have a lot of disagreements among ourselves. We try to come to a consensus, but I would say the consensus vote would be to build it where the Mormon property is.
Mormon property.
And because that area, as a protection against flooding, that area is already paved. That is almost 100% paved. So you're not taking land that now absorbs water. You're not taking that out of service.
Yeah.
So you're not exacerbating the problem because it's already paved. Now,
Right.
we feel that that's the best place for it, and that is one of the sites under consideration.
how about if we unpaved it? Would it become a retention spot? Would it hold water versus running
I think
off?
it's high, though. It's built up.
know.
There's a
It's built
building
up pretty
there.
high. I mean,
You know, I've given some thought to this. First of all, I don't want the city of Woburn to buy any land.
yeah.
All right, so let me just say that to you. For anything. You might say, well, how about a park? Well, we just sold a park down on Park Street and Center Street. So we sold it, and there's a big house going up
Yeah,
on it.
there's a
So,
house on it,
so we're gonna buy, I don't wanna buy land. I happen to think that if we can get the size of the school that we want, and at the Hurl School, which I'm gonna tell you, I think we can, that's where it should go. Go back on our site. We own a lot of land, but we got some wetlands in there between that and Sheridan Street. But I think with the technology we have today, that we can get the size and let the kids use the clap school while we're going through this transition.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people who don't think that's a good idea because, and you know, there are significant hardships if you would do that for the students who'd have to go somewhere else, and for maybe the clap people or wherever you might want to put those people. Someone has said maybe you could split them up and send them to the junior high. It's only 12 classrooms in that school. But anyways, it would be a significant hardship for the students to be bused or for wherever they landed to absorb them. However, that would be a hardship for
Well,
when
you'd leave the Wyman School
Right.
kids alone.
Yeah.
And you'd move the claps, the kids from the Hurl over to the clap, rip the clap down, and let's build a new school there.
And well,
There was a hardship done when we did the Goodyear School.
no, I understand that.
You know?
But my point is that it is a significant hardship, but that's a hardship for 1 year.
Yeah.
You build a school in our community, in our neighborhood, you destroy our neighborhood forever, not just for 1 year, forever.
You're talking about your piece of land.
Our piece of land.
The
Yeah,
piece
yeah.
that you're,
Right.
the
So,
old
so
spec-
you know, it is hard for those people to be uprooted and moved, but that's a temporary thing ours would be permanent forever. So, that's the update. We feel that, oh yeah, they also said that that pond that's on not the one you talked about, but that's on the city property, well, this isn't a permanent pond. Well, we found the 1938 U.S. Geological Survey, took an aerial photograph in 1938. Who knew they could take aerial photographs of that piece of land? We have that photograph, and that pond is there.
Yeah.
So that pond is there at least 76 years. So I don't know how long it takes to become permanent, but that pond was there, and it had been there for quite a while, because you could see, one of our members knows a lot about wetlands. He said you could see the rings, and that it went up and down over time. So that pond is probably over 100 years old. So, and it has all the characteristics of a vernal pool. So if it's a permanent pond, or if it's a vernal pool, the use of the land surrounding that pond is severely limited for at least 100 feet.
Yeah.
So that would preclude almost a quarter of that land being used.
Across from the pond, where the pond is, and next to Spencer's place now, across from where your piece is, or the piece you're trying to preserve, there was a farm in there known as the Boozer Farm, and that was before Park Drive Extension. Park Drive. Park Drive Extension came in after Park Drive. If you go down the end of Park Drive, and you can, when I say Allie Wall and I got a walking bridge out of the Navy Yard in Boston and put it over that so we could get to Wright Street.
Yeah,
an old gangplank. We dropped in there. So, anyways.
Anyways, yeah. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen anyways. We only got a few minutes.
Okay.
You are out.
You can stay if you want. It's up to you.
You can stay if
We're
you
not
want.
going to say anything bad.
All right, I'll hang around.
Well, why don't you go?
No, let's go to the weather.
No.
Want to see some weather? Yeah.
Hey, did you golf Eddie Wednesday?
Yeah, I hope so.
No, did you golf last Wednesday?
Yeah, I did, yeah. It was cold, though. It's too cold to play golf.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake. 47 degrees. All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Are you going to stay, Vincent?
Well, you know what? On second thought, I think I'll leave.
Yeah, unhook him and get him out of here. Get him on the bus. Now,
It'll be chilly again. Look at that.
let me know what you're doing in after the summer, like later in the summer, something comes up, come back. You can go back anytime you want. You'll be running for alderman pretty soon.
Wife killed me.
You'll be president of the thing. What do you say, 48, 50? What does it say up there?
Thanks again.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
All right, let's see. What do we want to do
Maybe we'll leave
here?
that chair. Raymond will come in.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Yeah. All right, we only got... Ask her what time we got to be the last minute. She isn't there.
It's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
At exactly 6
6
or
o'clock, we get cut off.
Oh, yeah?
5 minutes of 6?
Right
Okay.
at 6.
Okay.
6 o'clock we get cut
Oh,
off.
thanks.
All right, so that gives us 38, 40. That gives us 22 minutes. Okay, Council's Finance Committee, snow budget. You want to talk about the snow? I don't care about the snow budget.
Well, Public Works did a good job, and
Okay.
it costs money to keep the streets done, and it's a
Okay.
public safety issue, so
You want to talk?
I don't see any
All right,
problem.
we'll keep them short and sweet till we get to the end. How's that sound?
Yep.
All right. So then we got WRA for parking. That's like ancient history.
It's, how many times you're going to talk about it? You know?
School officials keep a close eye on grant revenues. I don't even know what that means.
No.
Gonsalves restrooms, 2 softball fields over there. They're going to put restrooms in the
Well, my understanding is with Little League, it's for Little League.
Little League softball.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I understand George Gately is the donor for the construction of the restrooms and the concession stand, and also to take care of the sewer and water line. So I don't know why the city council can't accept we'll say a gift toss, but
Yeah, the neighbors seem to be good. As soon as somebody said a dumpster, they said, nope, no dumpster.
No dumpster. Well, what do you
So that-
throw the rubbish in the trees?
Yeah, well,
Come
they
on,
can
you know.
haul it away.
They can-
That's-
come on, come on.
I'd be filling a dumpster up on Saturday night, you know what I
know.
mean? People be over there throwing stuff in it. Get them out of there.
So, but anyways, I hope that they come to some conclusion. I guess that they're now going in the bushes, you know, if they have
Yep.
to.
Oh, so they're banging on your door saying, can I use your bathroom?
Yeah, so,
Marlowe Park, the elevator.
huh?
What about it?
I don't know.
The only thing I say about all these toilet facilities for men and women,
Yeah.
girls and boys, and the elevator and everything, you got. There's a lot of guys at Public Works to keep their car clean and clean the house and everything, but they're not big time keeping toilets clean. You know what I mean? So I don't know who's going to get the job to get, keep the place clean enough.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you were over there watching a ball game and your wife had to use the facilities, I bet you get in the car and go home. You know what I mean? Because
Probably
it's a tough thing, especially the one down in the parking lot down the pond.
Yeah,
You
the
know, that's a
backside.
beautiful building, but Jesus, inside, hello.
Bill Cummings built that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think they may have to turn around after they get so many of them now.
Well,
they get them
maybe-
all over the place.
Let me give you a suggestion, maybe.
Yeah.
How about a private contract? You know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like cleaning maids or one of those outfits. Yes, they
give
go in there
them
and clean
those
them
to
up.
do
Yeah.
every other day or something. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a
Including the
good
elevator.
idea. Including that was my point, the elevator. Now, I don't know about the elevator. If you live in the building,
Yeah.
what do you do? Get a key after the elevator's out of service for the ordinary citizen going up and down?
I don't
You
know.
know, it's somebody banging on my door at 4 in the morning when you take the elevator up to the top. You know what I mean? I don't know how
Have
that
you ever
works.
got that answer? Maybe that's a good spot for one of our marijuana stores.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, could
What
be.
do you think?
Yeah, I think it'd be a great spot. All these people could walk right, all the old people that used to smoke dope that are over in the elderly housing, they could walk across and get their marijuana. Oh,
It's a good thing
God.
we can have a laugh, huh?
That's right. That's right. We had enough education in this program already. Horn Pond, Mrs. DeTucci said she could walk around the pond from bench to bench.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that, but I agree to a point. Because I think they will continue to put the benches there until somebody says no more benches.
Yeah.
Because if you walk around the pond, which you don't anymore, but you used to, the names are even coming off them. I don't know who, if you buy one for your father or something, you put his name on it, then it's there for 10 years. Some of the names are off of them already, you can't even read them. So I don't know who, if you get like a cemetery, you get
The only thing I think
perpetual
that brought
care.
this about, it's a 90-day moratorium. I think it had to do with the gazebo, the proposed gazebo at either the old ice house or down the other end towards the old pumping station. And then it got
She
into
doesn't want that either.
plaques and monuments and things like this. Well, there are things about plaques and monuments, but benches, I kind of could, well, I'll say this to you. I have walked from Arlington Road down to the pumping station. I haven't gone around it, but I have done that, and there are, I think there's a lot, though I tell you, I stop every other bench, so. So, anyways,
Yeah.
maybe there is some, we'll say, a little over on the benches, but I'm not against plaques. I'm not against recognizing good City of Woburn people.
I mean,
and a
they put
gazebo.
up, they seem to get, once they get onto a movement, you know, like
Yeah.
they put the Chiefs McElhaney,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
John McElhaney,
Yeah.
then Jughead Duran's thing, and then, then the Lions Park, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
Lions Park.
They don't fool around there, they keep going. So they could build, I mean, it hasn't distracted anything that I do around the pond, you know?
The gazebo, Eddie, I look at Wakefield. They have a nice gazebo over there.
We had a gazebo on the Parkway,
On Parkway for years.
never used it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a little kid, they used a little bit, but they never, used to be big crowds there too. But then they had a gazebo where?
We got one at Library
They have it at Library Park. Nobody uses
Yeah.
that. That's not used. So it has to be, I don't even like the word gazebo, but it has to be something that looks nice and is permanent and will be used.
Yeah.
You know, because if that's what they're going to do, they might as well leave the trailer there and use their trailer, because they're only gonna use it once a week.
6
Yeah,
times
5 or 6 times a
in
year,
summer.
in the summer, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll
Well-
be interesting to watch.
We'll see how that goes.
Study says participation is low in the applied, what do you call it? Applied
AP
AP courses. I
yeah.
forget what the applied something courses. But anyway, I agree with that, because I agree that the kids coming in to the school should have an opportunity to take some courses that are a little bit harder, because I think it's like, my analogy would be to sports. You practice hard, you know, get in there and do the hard stuff, and then when it comes time to take the test, you're there. You know what I mean? If you're just getting half of it, and then you take a test and the test is tough. So let's get into get them. I think they should have an opportunity to take any course they want to take, but that's not for me. That's Dr. Reese's division. With 9,000 in the hole
On lunches, huh?
Lunches. What do you want to do about that? Nothing.
Well, what are we gonna do?
Nothing. You can't do anything. They tried to shut them off a couple of years ago. You know, they get a card. You know, you send 100 up and put it, and it goes on the card. So then you get, when you go there for your bagel in the morning, it just comes off the card. So then when the card's empty, the kid don't know. He keeps coming in and he gets his stuff.
Why don't they go get one of those BT cards there in the Commonwealth? We got them in.
Yeah, man,
I
ain't a
in
bad
Florida,
idea.
them in Hawaii. Maybe give the
not
kids those cards.
That's not a bad idea.
Could you believe that story?
Yeah.
In Hawaii, they're on the beach and they're using our card from
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Well, a guy got to get a vacation. If you get an EBT card, you don't deserve a vacation.
Oh,
All right, we already talked about the flooding
Hart
on Hart
Street,
Street.
yeah.
I'd like to have somebody say to me, it's going to cost the city $10 million to fix the drainage from the rotary at 128, where the canal comes across
Yep.
there, all the way to, or maybe at Lowell Street and Wyman Street. They start there and go all the way to the pond. I don't know how much it's going to cost, because you cannot continue to. Every mayor will come in and fix 100 feet. 100 feet, 100 feet. All you're going to do is get a whole bunch of patchwork. Because we were talking about that before you came in, and it's not just there. I mean, like, you want to go over to from the Joyce, you want to go over to Doherty's house.
yeah.
Right?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Well, there's a brook that goes through
Yeah.
there. That's a good flowing
Yeah.
brook. So then there's other brooks that go into the
They
pond.
drop into it.
Right, so that's what they got to do, is they got to get that all coming into one spot there somehow. I don't know how they're going to do it.
You know, we solved the problem, Eddie, from Lukey Sunoco Park and Center Street, underneath Lannon's parking lot,
Underneath Lannon's,
right
yeah.
through Library Park, down Ellis Street. That's a 5-foot drainage pipe.
Yeah.
Now, we solved the problem up at Central Square and Park and Center Street, that was under Tom Higgins.
Yeah.
And the pipe, I could almost stand up inside that
Okay,
pipe.
yeah.
Now, you know, if we could get back from Hart Street, back like this fellow suggested, put it back to where it was, if we could get into that drain at Library Park, you know,
Yep.
it's right there.
Yep.
If we could come across Harrison Avenue, but then we got that Sylvania sewer, that's a big sewer line in there.
Whoa, did you ever see them pull the cover off and look
Oof.
down there?
Yeah.
If you fell in there, you'd be in
You would-
Winchester
you'd
in
never
about
get
3 or
out.
4 minutes.
You know?
That thing is flowing, boy.
And that's why they hooked that brook
Yeah.
around by Spence Farm,
Yeah.
because of that sewer line. So if we could ever get, again, I suppose, hey, there's been so many engineering studies.
They never tried to do anything. See, all that stuff, that old railroad bed would have been perfect. You know,
Yeah,
run all
yeah.
that shit down the railroad bed.
Yeah.
But that's
But,
all gone
hey,
now.
what do we know?
What do we know? We don't know anything. All we know is what? 9,000, man. Well, special education money seems to be good. God bless that woman who's running that place
Yeah.
over there. I'm going to get her in there one of these days, because the Dr. Wells says that we seem to be doing good so far. Well, you only got a month of school left.
Looks
so
like
we
they're
should
holding
be all right.
their thing on spending, which is very important.
Now, here's something that was in the paper yesterday. Discount tree service. And paving companies that come in and they got a couple of wheelbarrows of hot top, and they'll do your driveway over. And then when they get halfway, they say, "Oh, we made a mistake. No, now we got to go buy some, so it's going to cost you $1,000." Wow, no, don't listen to. If you're so old and you haven't talked to anybody lately, and you're willing to talk to these dopes that come banging on your door, you deserve to lose the money. Honest to God, that's how I feel about it.
What they do is they say they're in the area working. We got some extra material. Your driveway could use a couple of little, an overlay, this and that, and then they take so much money from here and they throw a shovel and they take off. We haven't got enough to finish it. It's going to cost you more money.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled like that, and deal with City of Woburn contractors. That would be the first thing. The second thing is don't give them any money until the job is done satisfactory. None. Zip. If they get a little left over, tell them to take it home with them.
Yeah,
don't get
right.
caught like
Don't
that.
do that.
So,
don't do that.
you know,
It took it too long to get the money in the bank without some dope banging on your door, and you give it to them without any argument at all. Come on. Let's toughen up a little bit. Now, this is outrageous. I'm not exactly sure where Delphina Piergentili
996.
lives. 996. It's got to be before the gas station.
you think so?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
like maybe where George, the electrical
Okay.
inspector, lived, right
Okay.
there somewhere, right in that area.
Okay.
Because he was going through it, Mr. Grillo was talking about, he's familiar with that area a little
Okay.
bit too. So it's got to be right there. So I think, she didn't say it, but she kind of hinted that the construction across the street between the two buildings could have caused some problem. But somebody, if my wife killed 2 rats in the yard in 5 years, she'd be standing on Scott Galvin's desk, jumping up and down. You know what I mean? You can't have that. Now, so if somebody can go up there, we have the animal control officer. I don't know if he has anything to do with it.
They could set some traps and.
I'm sure that the 2 contractors, Seaver and Melissa, they have that all baited and all taken care of. But I mean, if they're in a big area where there's a lot of varmints there, I guess they run across the street.
In reading her letter, it wasn't mice.
No,
these are rats. Took a
Yeah,
couple of
so
things.
one ate a refrigerated wire off. So the other that rat's in the house. Now I don't know how that works out. But I mean, she has to get some help from somebody.
Well, I would, my first suggestion would be to reach out to Mike Raymond. He's your alderman. He's the first step to your government, and get the Board of Health, Jack Freilich, involved in it.
Yeah,
and start taking some corrective action. Something is, when you get this type of rodent in that size, something's
going on.
It's going on. It's not. That's unusual.
It is unusual.
So.
Because they're I mean, to get a rat to cross the street and come into, dig a hole and come into your house and chew through the wire for the refrigerator, I mean, Jesus, that's like, hello, give me a break.
Yeah.
So that's I made a little note on that one. That's outrageous. It's totally outrageous. All right.
All right, we're almost
Mr.
ready to
Deva,
go.
wait a minute, Mr. Deva and Mr. Murray are having a Veterans Blues at the Legion.
When is that?
17th.
Okay.
That's got to be the end of this week, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Blues at Library Park is going to be on August the 14th. Oh, no, I got August 14th, that's the year, 23rd of August. Is that what we agreed on? Okay.
And we got a casinos night, Friday night at the Casino Lions, and I believe it's at the Sons of Italy. I think I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong. It's Friday night. It's a casino night run by the Lions, and I'm not sure of the time, but
Is that where it is at the Legion?
Yeah, I think it's the Legion or the Sons.
I think everything kind of is at the Legion.
Yeah.
It's about the biggest place.
No, Sons are bigger than Legion. Sons.
Oh, all right.
You
Yeah,
know
the
what I mean?
Legion, I'm talking. Yeah, right.
The
The
Legion
Legion's
holds
down
maybe
the
about
street.
250.
That's right.
The
Okay.
Sons holds about 400.
So what do you got in the box?
All right, let's do this. Let's close this out with this. First of all, we have 2 capable representatives, that being Dwyer and Kaufman. We have a capable state senator. And I think the 3 of them collectively should be standing up and asking for Mr. Crosby's resignation. I honestly believe this is a farce, what's going on with this casino committee. Here's Crosby getting about a $1.50 a year. He's not going to vote on any licenses dealing with Boston because he went down to Suffolk Downs and had caviar and stuffed clams and lobster tails. And he said he paid for it himself. Just going in that room, there's a conflict.
Shouldn't have been in the building.
And now the governor still stands beside him, and we got a 4-member board. Now let's say it comes up to 2-2, what happens? So I think he should go. The Attorney General of the Commonwealth, who's a candidate for governor, Martha Coakley, says he should go. Well, why don't you start getting his bags packed and get him out of there? This is a travesty. This really is. I'm telling you, if you ever want to look at your state government and say they do good things, you know,
That's not one of them.
I'm reading about Alzheimer's and other things that they're doing. EB cards are out in Hawaii, and then this. I'm going to say it again. You and I will not be putting a bet down on any casino in our lifetime.
In Boston.
And why?
You know, the whole thing. Now, what about the Supreme Court judge?
He should be gone too. He was a lobbyist for Suffolk Downs.
Yeah.
And before he was a judge. Now he's a judge. He's going to tell us whether we can vote on the ballot or not. It's
unbelievable. And the mayor of Boston hasn't even put his court cases in yet.
Oh.
They're going to be in court for years.
Eddie, did they think we were born yesterday?
Well, the part that amazes me, every once in a while you have to wake up, you know, stop yourself because you say, you know, I said to my wife, I said, Paul and I are sitting down there. Now, we've been across the bridge and back again, you know what I mean? So we're not naive. But as soon as this thing started, and they appointed these people, and they started charging them $500,000 just to put an application in. And then they put their own salaries in for $150,000 a year, 5 members. They went ahead a national search to find these people. And now, if he resigns and gets out, the government appoints somebody else, it's just, he got to start all over again. It's just too complicated. The thing just has to stop. Yeah. So when I say, the Paul Meany is in Central Square in Cambridge, down with all those kids, trying to get them to sign signatures to ban, revoke, what do you call it? Get rid of the law.
Casino, take the law back.
Take the law back. Then I wasn't fooling.
I'm not. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to vote to repeal the casino.
That's right, me too.
Not because of the issue of casinos.
No, that's not it. No, it's how they did it.
It's this issue.
Yep.
It's this issue right here.
That's right.
And I would hope that all these, call Dwyer, call Kaufman, call Donnelly, and tell them to stand up for the taxpayers in this district, and tell them to get this guy out of there.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Next time.